Hey, Chris and Dimitri. I like where we're going. So I'll show you real quick. Just I did a version of getting these in the engine. So in general, I like the look. So the function of these guys is that they constrain. I showed you the prototypes, but they kind of constrain the player's path. This is they have a tendency to corral traffic. They come in and they are essentially like there's a lot of mechanisms that I guess that Paltech deploys to control its populace, right? So they also look kind of scary, which is super cool and crazy. So now that you've seen it, a couple things here. So just in general, so let's make the butt needs to be wider. Let's make more space in these segments so we have more electricity. So, and you can kind of, this isn't quite perfect in the version that I'm showing here. We'll need to adjust it, right? But you can see there are bigger gaps and that we'll have like the electricity that kind of like crackles around and has some animation in between. So I definitely don't want them to have to be too tightly coupled. I'll see what we can do about we might have to move this on the actual sprite sheet for the enemy to get the butt to be a little bit more further away from the final links because they draw on top. So it's just the way it is. Yeah, so this is coming together really nicely. I like where we're at. So there was that. So I wanted to take a look again at the language of like the Paltech Police Department, PAL Corporation, right? And the tools that they're using to essentially, control the populace, but also these are the tools that they outsource to other worlds as well. So I wanted to come back and take a look at the police cruiser just to see kind of like, okay, cool. Does this feel, and this is just a color test, it's not final render, but does this feel like this belongs in the same family with this? And I think in general it does. We might be a tad bit more ominous in our red usage of the color, which I kind of like. But I also wanted to take an opportunity while we're doing the designs to really come back and think about these things. Because I think the, and I think I want to encapsulate that to some degree, right? Like on the forefront nodes, these could be similar to like the flashing patterns. So we have the alternating, like the blinking, right? These are, generally they can deploy and they're going to shoot bullets at the player and things will be crazy, but bullets are kind of a last resort. Not in this particular case, but when I think about them used for putting down disputes and things like that. I think we're doing a good job with kind of like the sort of our micro dot kind of blue coloring. I think that shows up nicely here. I really like where we're at with the red dots, and I think the electricity pieces are going to be super fun. These are going to be fun to animate too. And I like having the big red kind of butt with its kind of glowy, I don't know, latch / field thing, which just feels kind of cool. These things could be attached as sort of like anchor points to larger vehicles and things like that, and then shot out, which I really like. And so just coming back to the police cruiser as well, I was looking at like our elements for sort of the sort of hollow caution flips, and I'm like, I don't know if we can use these. I was like, well, maybe could they kind of be here, right? Like in a very coarse way, could they be like really kind of transparent? Are they directing the flow of traffic like with their bodies, right? Like kind of that was kind of the thinking I was having here, so, it's like, maybe very, very faint. Like I don't want it to be overpowering because I don't want to break the shape of the good stuff, but maybe it's something like these things kind of follow along, or maybe they're only in the center parts, right? Where then they kind of create these kind of cautionary pieces. Maybe it's maybe it's an extension of sort of like this caution like tape stuff that we have that will get in here for like the danger caution lines, right? Like generally when you see these things show up, they're meant to make it to where you're not how do you say yeah. So they're there to kind of corral players and traffic and things like that. I haven't really seen these versions yet. So, but yeah, to give you a sense for that. We might go larger in engine as well, but that's a different thing. But anyways, coming back to this. So I was just like, okay, where are we at with the idea that these belong in like the police force and the mercenary forces, right? So I'm not saying that we do these things, but let's do some thinking about it, right? So again, we have these cool the moniker with the PTPD, and I don't think, maybe they get that. Maybe there's a, an opportunity to put these, like, I don't know, if I were to think about it, maybe like, we could put it on the anchor butt, right? Maybe that's maybe one of the things there, where maybe it's smaller, maybe it gets a moniker, above, and it's more of a hologram or something like that. So it's clear, like, what's going on. Again, I don't know if I'm fully married to these ideas, but I think we should explore them, because if we don't, and we just go forward, then we haven't done our due diligence to think about how all this stuff works together. And then I came back to take a look again at our drones, of course, our missile bits, our laser. I think the laser's pretty good there too, right? So I think these bits, for the most part, seem to fit in the family, which is cool. I don't think we need to add them necessarily, but I just wanted to say, hey, like, let's think about what the next iteration can be. I think I also overall like the blue and red. I think the red could probably be a bit more shiny. Again, this is just a color test, so this isn't like a final render, but kind of like thinking in our glowy spots, I think you've got a good job like showing the glowy bits here and here. It gets a little bit darker, more ruddy on this spot, so there's some food for thought there. And then coming back to think about, like, hey, here's our materials. Here's kind of another one of our sort of nano smart materials, and I think some of this stuff is carrying through nicely into the fine lining designs, which is super cool. So yeah, that's it. Food for thought. I appreciate it. I'll get this up for you, and I will talk to you soon.